Hi, this is Tim Bivans for SGD113 at Pitt Community College. I've had some questions about the multiply assignment, so I thought I would update the video as I realized that the one I had previously posted might be a bit confusing. What I will do is walk you through what the book does and show you how to modify it to create our assignment. So let's turn to page 25 in our textbook and start there. So you see this learning script we have here. Right? This is what we're going to use. In the book it says add two numbers. We are going to modify that and multiply two numbers. Okay. So now we will open up Unity, which I have down here. And notice that I've created a Chapter 2 Multiply project. So if you do not have a project created, go ahead and do so. Once you have that open, we're going to click in the Project tab, right-click, Create CSharp script. Now, as soon as we do this, we're going to have a new CSharp script in the project folder, ready to be named. You want to name it as soon as it's created. Otherwise, you'll run into some problems, which I'll discuss in another video. Notice that new behavior script now is highlighted and ready to be named. Name it now before you do anything else or to save yourself some problems. We're going to call it learning script, just like the book does. Enter. Once that is there, we'll double click on it. And this will open up in MonoDevelop. This is our code editor that comes with Unity. And it gives you a blank class, public class, learning script, MonoBehavior. Okay, so now let's look at the book again, and we'll follow along, making changes where necessary to create our assignment. Okay, so we see here we have public int number 1, public int number 2. So let's switch back to MonoDevelop and put those in here. Notice where these are. These are underneath your class declaration here and before your start function. This is the normal place to put your class variables. Public int number 1 equals 2. Public int number 2 equals 9. Alright. Switch back here. Notice the start function is completely empty, so don't worry about that. Our update function has this curious thing in there, which we'll explain in a little bit, but for now we'll just input it the way it is, right? So if input.getKeyUp keycode return. If input.getKeyUp keycode return right here, we're calling a function. See, it says calling the method. Right? You'll notice that MonoDevelop does some interesting things with completing things that it knows about. It's called code completion. Code completion can't work with function, these method names, if you don't have the method first. So I'm going to come down here after the update function. And I'm going to put this void add two numbers. But we don't want to add two numbers. Right? We want to actually, we'll start out by adding two numbers, right? Add two numbers. All right. And they just push the answer to the debug log. Right? Number 1 plus number 2. Okay. Now that we've defined this function, we can come up here and say add two numbers, and notice how it shows up right there. Let code completion do the work for you so that you make fewer errors in typing. At this point, we should be able to run it. First, we're gonna switch back to Unity, right? And for the most part, for the first several chapters, we're going to attach our scripts to the main camera. Realize that in Unity, if the script is not attached to an object in-game, it will not run. So if you've typed a bunch, you've done a bunch of coding, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything, make sure that it's attached to a game object. Right? So we're going to drag this over to the main camera. Okay. Then you can click on the main camera, and notice now that the learning script is over here, attached to the main camera. Also notice that our public variables, number 1 and number 2, are also listed below it. Now, switch to your console. And if you don't see the console, come up to Window, Console. And then it will show up and you can dock it. Once the console is visible, click on play, and we should see something down here, although I am not. Now, this is the debugging part, right? It's because I'm not seeing anything. Oh, yes. I forget this every time. This part, this waits for you to hit return. So nothing's going to happen until you hit return. Right? So let's hit play again. And once it's running, hit return. And once I've hit return, notice down here it says 11. So the adding portion is working. So now we have completed what was in the book for the add two numbers method. So now we're going to diverge from the book a little bit, and we will do two things. First, we will make this multiply instead of add. And then we will push our output to a GUI text object, as well as the debug log. So let's go back to our code. So underneath your void add two numbers function, we're going to say void multiply two numbers. All right. And we're going to say debug log number 1 times the asterisk in computer programming is the multiplication symbol. Number 2. All right. So now that we've created this function, we can come up here and instead of add two numbers, now I want to comment this out. Right? Commenting out is the same as deleting it as far as the compiler goes. Once you comment it out, the compiler no longer sees it. So instead of add two numbers, I'm going to say multiply two numbers. Save it. Always remember to save your file, or else the changes you've made will not show up in the program. So at this point, this should work in the console, and then we'll worry about the GUI text. So I'm going to play it. See, first, I want to do something real quick. I'm going to go to Preferences, and Colors, Play Mode Tint. The Play Mode Tint lets you know easily when you're in play mode, which can be very helpful because you don't want to do a lot of work in the editor when you're in play mode. So this lets you know, helps you not forget that you're in play mode. So we'll hit play. See that? All right. And then I'm going to hit enter. And you see now it's 18, which is 2 times 9 is 18.